March is Brain Injury Awareness Month, and now is the time to get up to speed on the symptoms because a recent survey found 50% of people who experience a possible concussion don't get it checked out. Malik Wilson spoke with the experts to find out what parents, coaches, and caregivers need to know about concussions. Take a look.
Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Show Me St. Louis. So, in your coalition, you guys found that in 1 in 2 they're ignored. And so can you explain, why you guys think that is and, why it's important to know the early signs?
Sure. Well, concussions can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. And I'm a neurologist. I can tell you that it's tricky to know whether you had a brain injury. If you twist your ankle, you can see that your ankle is swollen and you can feel that it hurts. When you have a concussion, you can't see that injury. And sometimes it's unclear what the signs and symptoms are to many folks. In fact, at Abbott, we did a survey of 1,000 adults across the United States, and what we found was that 8 out of 10 people didn't know the most common signs and symptoms of concussion.
Many people associate concussions with just sports. So, Kathy, what should parents and even coaches, know to, help protect their kids and athletes?
Well, I think the most important thing is, yes, there are a number of concussions that happen in sports, about 300,000 a year in high school and collegiate athletics. But the biggest question is who is there to take care of that child when they do suffer a concussion? Athletic trainers have the educational background, the knowledge, and the expertise to recognize and manage that concussion so that that athlete is protected within the confines of that injury and aren't returned to sport until it's safe to do so. Yet we know that about 1/3 of high schools across the country don't have access to an athletic trainer. So the number one question I would ask as a parent is who's taking care of my child should an injury or illness occur during sport activities?
How do concussions usually happen, and are there any other myths that you can bust for us?
Sure. The number one cause of concussions would be slips and falls due to everyday accidents. And then the second most common would be motor vehicle accidents. And there are a number of myths that we see out there. The first is that you must lose consciousness to have a concussion, and that's not true. The vast majority of people, when they do have a concussion, will not lose consciousness. The second one is that you can't sleep after a concussion. That's not true either. Once you've been cleared by your doctor, it's extremely important to make sure that your brain gets rest so it can recover and heal properly. And then Kathy?
And I would add to that list the myth that you have to have a direct blow to your head to have a concussion. And we know that's not true. You can have a significant blow to the body and cause a concussion, as well as the myth that males get concussions more often than females, where in actuality, females get concussions 2 to 3 times the rate of male athletics. So it's very important to make sure that we're looking at every concussion individually and recognizing those signs and symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Learning a lot today. And, can you guys, tell us more about concussion symptoms and, what to do if someone does suspect one? I know you guys mentioned resting. Is there anything else?
Sure. So the most common signs and symptoms would include things like headache or sensitivity to light or sound. Also, sometimes people just don't feel themselves, or they may have trouble sleeping or focusing. Every person's unique. Every injury is unique. What's important is that people seek care and be assessed. And if they're on the field, Kathy?
Yeah, additionally, that they are properly assessed, and if they are symptomatic in any way, that they're removed from activity to protect them from that second concussion that could be really catastrophic. So making sure that we're protecting that athlete when a concussion occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Guys, I thank you all so much. This was such vital information, especially from a former athlete myself. And so, thank you so much. And I hope.
And you can find further information right there on your screen. We'll